In this video, I want to talk about how we're thinking about growing Alt Agency, our business, into multiple seven figures. And honestly, if you're a digital service provider, agency, consultancy, etc., how you should be thinking about the future of your business as well. What's good, everybody? Greg Hickman here with Alt Agency at altagency.com. And in this video, I want to just kind of actually do something a little bit different and take you through a thought exercise that I'm currently working through that I believe is the future of where our business is going. And for many quote unquote service-based businesses, B2B service providers, where your head should be at as well. And I got to give a shout out to Ryan Dice from scalable.co, also digitalmarketer.com. He wrote this epic Twitter thread on the modern day media company. And I'm going to be drawing out the same model that he did in this tweet. So I kind of want to give you the framework that he shared for what they're doing at Scalable and really what I think a lot of service providers are positioned to do in today's market to build a bigger, profitable, more scalable business that isn't just tied to labor. So I would say that this is you, and I'm doing this from the perspective of you, but really this is, I can put Alt Agency there as well. And right now, Alt Agency sells services. We have high ticket consulting, coaching, courses, things like that. In the world that Ryan talks about, like this, building a modern day media company, well, there's other pieces. There's obviously the media, and then there's also things like software. When you look at this, you launch a business, you're doing services for people, that's typically where, services, the form of, again, coaching, consulting, that is where in the beginning, you're going to get a lot of your cash flow. It's how you're going to start to be able to afford some of these other things. And the media is really starting to build more exposure. So when we look at services and media, when you combine the two, you actually create margin. And when we look at media and software, those things look really, really valuable. This is why media and software, platforms and outlets get acquired for crazy multiples because of the exposure, whereas a B2B service typically doesn't get bought for crazy multiples, if you were to do an exit. And if you look at the combination between services, when you have services and software but no media, you do find that cash flow can be really, really good. So when you start putting all of these things together, you kind of have a really interesting business. And in Ryan's post, he kind of poses the question, like, if a media company is now selling services and has software, can you even call it a media company anymore? If a service business now has media and also has software, is it even a service business? It's less about what it is you're selling and more about the market that you're serving. And so when we look at all of these things, this is you inside the middle and you build these out. Now, he does say that if you're going to do this in order and you're bootstrapping, aka you're not funded, you would start with services, which is what we've done. You add media. Media could be a YouTube channel like this, a podcast, ultimately not in the same brand name. So like, for example, we're going to be looking at having podcasts with other experts that isn't necessarily Alt Agency related, but speaks to the same market that we can sell Alt Agency services to and start getting more eyeballs. And then when you have that, you can also monetize through product brands, which would be the software and the tools. So this is the sequence that Ryan recommends if you are bootstrapping. Again, you can read more about this in that tweet, but this is essentially the order that we're going to be, following as well. And he also kind of went on to say, like, when you have media and you look at how media meets software, the media side is what gives you attention, right? We talked about the eyeballs, like getting in front of more and more people. If you're building a software, you are in a position where you've isolated a problem enough that you have a lot of expertise. And in the services side, he talks about, if you're able to serve these problems, the ability to serve through software and service, you now are building authority. And by servicing people and having exposure to them because of your media, you actually gain a lot of insights. So the services you're working on and the media that you start to create, you're gaining insights that while you're growing the attention, which has you go deeper with software when it comes to expertise, all the while coming back around for the, building more and more authority. And he kind of looks at inside of services, this is where you look at things like high ticket, and on the software, this is where you look at subscription, and the media is where he, poses the opportunity of passive income, which is where like advertising, sponsorship, well, it's not obviously passive the way many people explain it, but it's like passive and premium content. And with where the world is going, Web3, community-based type things, I think starting to look at your service business through this lens is going to start to open your eyes to the actual possibilities that exist for us. If you have this skill and you're really good at solving problems through way of service, again, consulting, coaching, products, whatever, there could be a whole nother opportunity and world for you to be adding on the media and adding on the software. Like, you don't have to just be a done for you service provider. You can be, what he calls a modern day media company. And again, can you even call it a modern day media company anymore when you have all of these things combined? That's really the big question here. But while it's the big question, for me, in my eyes, it's actually the opportunity, because we can dabble in a couple different things that build our audience, have a larger audience to sell our services to. Those services are going to inform products that we can either acquire through acquisition or build on our own, whether that's media and or software, and start to build a portfolio of businesses that serve our audience of agency owners, consultancies, et cetera, even better than if we were just offering like our one or two done for you services. So I know this is really more of a thought experiment for many of you watching this, but this is how I'm starting to think. Shout out again to Ryan Deiss for kind of pioneering this whole concept. Again, I'll link up to his thread below because he writes out the whole thing. But from a where is alt agency going and how am I thinking about the evolution of service, the evolution of agencies, I think it's going to be the people that kind of tackle the market like this that are the winners. And also, I think creates a lot of excitement to be able to serve people in all of these different formats. And there is a sequence that he does talk about. Again, if you haven't dialed in your service yet, some of these moves are out of sequence. But as you dial that in, you can start to see what your next move is over the next 3, 5, 10 plus years, which to me is super exciting. I hope it's as exciting to you. If you want to hear more thought like this and insights like this about how we're expanding our service-based business through media, software, et cetera, be sure to join our free Facebook group. I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. And we hope to see you there and or in the next video. Take it easy. Peace.